Yes, good morning. I often get asked if type 2 diabetes can be reversed. Like, can type 2 diabetes be cured? Many people could be wondering if this condition can be cured. Yes, it can be cured, but first of all, principally, you need to follow the rightful guidelines. You find out more times our health system lie to us a lot, and there are many people out there who are suffering from this condition, and they are put on these short-term medications which are going to worsen your condition in the coming years, because these oral medications do not really treat type 2 diabetes, because they do not absolutely fight the cause of this disease. So it's a metabolic disease. So principally, for you to treat anything in this world, you need to fight the cause of this metabolic disorder. So first of all, we need to talk about what causes type 2 diabetes. Now, look, the biggest cause of type 2 diabetes is insulin resistance. What does this mean? Insulin resistance means your body cells do not respond to insulin. Your body cells are not so sensitive to the action of insulin. Meaning, whenever you take up any food rich in carbohydrates, rich in sugars, your sugar levels in blood tends to shoot up because your insulins are not regulating it totally. In cases of type 2 diabetes, the body produces enough levels of insulin, but these insulins do not work. Why? Because your cells are not responsive to this insulin. Insulin is the hormone in the body which is supposed to regulate the amount of sugars in your body. So in this case of type 2 diabetes, what you need to fight is why your cells are not sensitive to insulin, what we call insulin resistance. So at one point in life, throughout the day, when you take up a food which is rich in carbohydrates, a food which is rich in starch, and many other sugary contents like a whole grain, walnuts, and also very many processed foods, pancakes, also refined sugars and refined grains. When you take it and you take your sugar levels, it is going to be very high. The reason is because you have added sugars into your body. So normally it is a body's response to produce insulin so that it regulates the amount of these sugars that you have eaten. But in this case, your body cells are not responsive to this insulin. So I can say the biggest cause of insulin resistance is because you have too much insulin in your body. That is one. And your cells are resistant to this insulin, which is in high amount. So when you have so much insulin in your body, you tend to get very hungry quicker. So when you get hungry quicker, the science behind there is you will tend to eat more frequently. You eat more frequently because your insulin levels are very high, which is triggering you to feel very hungry. In the process, you tend to eat a lot. Then what do you eat? Our common food in this community is carbohydrates. We tend to eat a lot of cassavas when you're hungry. We eat maize grain, maize flour, food made out of those materials, and also these food materials here. We eat a lot of yams. These are all sugary foods. The biggest problem is our people have in their minds that sugary foods is this refined sugar which we add in our milk, we add in tea, we add in water, then we take. But the food contents, the type of food you eat is very important, and this is what our diabetic guidelines of Uganda do not focus on. The reason is simple, because we have a very fraudulent health system currently, which is all looking at making profits and making a lot of money. That's what the world is discussing currently, what we call the medical industrial complex, because these big pharmaceutical companies are making billions of dollars selling these oral medications, which are not really so much important because they do not treat the cause of insulin resistance in cases of type 2 diabetes, which ideally that's actually what we are supposed to fight, is the insulin resistance. But these drugs do not actually fight your insulin resistance. What they majorly do is they regulate your sugar levels, meaning throughout in life, whether because you'll be on the drugs for 60 years, 70 years, or even more, taking these drugs, there are also chances that they will add to your second drug, what we call a second line drug. You keep on taking, and these drugs are really so much expensive, meaning the economic point of view, it's going to be very much derailing to our economic system. We are a poor community, so we are going to spend a lot of money buying these drugs. Why don't we treat the cause of this type 2 diabetes? So how do you reverse insulin resistance? Now take a scenario whereby you wake up in the morning, then you take a breakfast meal which is so much heavy in carbohydrates. So in that, generally what we expect is your sugar levels to be rising so much high when tested. So in this case your sugar levels are high, so normally it is the body's insulin which is produced to regulate the sugar, but this insulin will never work in this case of type 2 diabetes which you're suffering from. This insulin will not work to break down these high amounts of sugar. It's not working because your cells are not taking it up. So that's ideally what we should fight, the insulin resistance. We need to look at ways of making these cells so much responsive to the insulin, so that we get to a normal range whereby our insulin will help the body to regulate the amount of sugars, not by taking these oral medications, the metformins, the glibenclamides and the rest. So we generally know that our biggest issue here is, our biggest enemy here is the high sugar levels. Now take a scenario whereby you don't take so much sugars in your blood, you don't take sugars anymore, you have shifted your diet to perhaps proteins and fats and also vegetables, then you have restricted to no carbohydrates at all. Because the only chance in life that your sugar levels will actually rise is when you take in carbohydrates. You take in yams, you take in cassava, you take in rice, these foods with a high glycemic content. When you take it into your body, automatically your sugar levels will rise, and that's what we call the type 2 diabetes in this case. Now when you look closely and scientifically, this one a layman will also understand when we don't take in carbohydrates, meaning there is no chance why our sugar levels will rise. So in that process, we are going to keep on training our body cells to start becoming so much sensitive to the insulin, that the little insulin that the body produces. So if we restrict taking much carbohydrates, meaning our bodies will also stop producing high amounts of insulin. So in the process, we are going to reduce the amount of insulin in our blood, so that your cells become so much responsive to the little amount of insulin in your blood. In the process, it keeps on taking up the excess sugars so that it can be used into energy. In the process, in a very average number of times, you are going to fight this insulin resistance, and you are going to fight the cause of your type 2 diabetes. It's not by taking a lot of this oral medication, because you will be on this oral medication for many years, because you are not really treating the cause of this condition. Instead, you're worsening the condition more and more. What you should do starting from now is a very big lifestyle change. Stop eating any carbohydrates meal at any point in life, which is going to be so much helpful to you. Now again, the biggest problem with the people is we do not understand what foods contain carbohydrates. Many times we think that the juices we take, the sodas, do not have sugar, but these companies have a lot of issues which we call they're all about making profits and making us more sick and sicker. They tell us that this is zero sugars, but that's never true. If you check in the hidden world that there will be some hidden contents of sugar in it. So you need to restrict to no sodas, no juices, anything sugar we should avoid, and also resort to eating no carbohydrates at all, but rather take more of vegetables, take more of proteins, take more of fats. Now, funny enough, these are the foods which our health guidelines tell us to avoid, but they also tell us to take some little amount of carbohydrates, but that's never true. I'm telling you that your sugar levels are high because of this carbohydrate which you eat, which are actually going to raise your sugar levels. Now, why don't we take no more of this carbohydrates so that there will be no chance that your sugar levels will rise? We know it's very difficult because of the economic standards and also the disadvantaged homestays where we live in, whereby most of our foodstuffs are carbohydrates, and we cannot get these vegetables and also some proteins, some fruits and fats so much frequently. But we need to always try so hard to stop eating carbohydrates when you have type 2 diabetes. This is going to help you enough, and it's going to be really so much important. So I'm going to make more subsequent videos on which type of foods are supposed to be not eaten in cases of type 2 diabetes, but principally stop eating carbohydrates, live a pure, healthy, ketogenic lifestyle.